Jean Piaget's theory of cognitive development explains how a child constructs a mental model of the world. His study consisted of him examining a child's thought processes from their infancy to their teenage years. Um, each stage represents a fundamental change in how children understand and organize their own environment. He believes that children understand the world with schemas, which are also psychological structure that organizes experiences. So, what drove Piaget to do this study was that he wanted to know how children through their development in the study of knowledge. So, pretty much, it consists of four stages, and all children go through stages in the same order, and you can only be in one stage at one time. So, you can't skip stage one and just go to stage three. Each child progressively goes from one stage to another. Maybe others might get to stage two or stage three at like faster times than some children, but each child has to hit each stage. Stage one is called the sensor motor stage, which is from a child being an infant to 2 years old. So this stage, a child is really trying to get to know the world through their own sensor and motor skills. He believed that children are naturally curious, so anything they see they want to touch, and they're learning to listen, and during this stage the child is it's based on their own actions and object appearance. So if they're playing with the ball and it rolls into the couch, he would examine the child to see if the child learned that the ball is still there or just under the couch just because it disappeared. Stage two is called the pre-operational period, which is when a child is 2 years old to 7 years old. That's like a big 5-year gap. But so pretty much in this stage, children believe that others see the world just like they do. So they don't understand how to look through someone else's perspective. And also in this stage of child, this is when a child is 2 years old, he's beginning to really use talk. They know their own language. They use symbols. So then after stage two, we go to stage three, which is the concrete operational period. This is when a child is 7 to 11 years old. So this is characterized the appropriate use of logic. So a child there's a group of toys on a table, the child will be able to place them in categories based on size, or shape or color, anything like that. Also during this stage, the child is beginning to view life like someone else's perspective from their shoes. The last stage is the formal operational period, which is when a child is probably 11 years old and up. And this is when the child has the ability to systematically solve a problem in a logical way. Like critical thinking, just being able to process thoughts in a logical way. So the overall goal of Piaget's theory is to explain the mechanisms and processes by which the infant, which then the child develops into the individual who can reason and think using hypotheses. Today, his theory has made educators and parents conscious of the way children and adults think. Interventions stemmed from from his theory mainly include activity-based interventions. So, the interventionists will be very cautious of how they set the environment up, what toys they pick, how much space, and children are the active participants. And professionals definitely benefit from his study because they are able to recognize by observing a child, and they are able to recognize what stage that the child is in, therefore that they will create a better relationship and know how to help a child more, knowing what their thought process is like. And then his theory is still influencing professionals across the country. It's used widely in school systems. So pretty much the big takeaways are children can see the world different than adults. And adults aren't necessarily more intelligent than children. They just see the world differently. They learn through exploration, hypotheses, and schema building. And then early psychological and social development is a largely sequential process.